One last chance to get prepped for the Dolphins versus the Browns on Sunday. We got a lot to get into, including Mike McDaniel going on the record with the trade deadline, a weather update, and some player availability.
You are Locked On Dolphins, your daily Miami Dolphins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Miami, welcome to another episode of Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, Kyle Krabs, a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan, host of Locked On Dolphins, co-host of Locked On NFL Scouting, author of Touchdown Miami on Substack, NFL staff writer for A to Z Sports. I want to give a special welcome and shout out to our everydayers because it is your team every day. We don't just say it, we live it here on the Locked On Network. Today on the show, we are getting ready for week 7 of the NFL season. The Dolphins sitting at 1-5, going to Cleveland to play the 1-5 Browns in what is going to be, as the forecast calls for, a wet and windy day. We'll get there. But I want to start with what Mike McDaniel did today at his press availability, which I think was a play call that he nailed on the nose, in my opinion, which was he was asked about the dynamics of the trade deadline and what his players hear and what he tells his players. And he went out of his way to pretty much openly and publicly stiff arm the entire thing. Here's what he said and why I think it's the right play for Miami as it considers where they stand as a team, regardless of what the truth really is or is not. It's tricky. Just for the record, all rumors about Miami Dolphins players are baseless currently. And that's unfortunate for personally. This time of year bothers me for the sake of an individual player that's having to answer questions about his long-term journey or where he's playing questioned on rumors and thoughts of other people. We are focused on the Browns, and I try not to give legs to any of those rumors. But if I was an individual player, it probably wouldn't be the greatest thing to hear. In reality, I do believe there's, especially with Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane as kind of the heavyweight names that are attached to this. You know, there's former first-round pass rushers in Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips who have been attached to some NFL Network and some ESPN reporting as names that other teams may be interested in. I think a lot of where the Dolphins are at right now is other teams calling them. And I believe there are teams that are calling the Dolphins, and the Dolphins, when the phone rings, you pick up the phone and you listen, right? That's the nature of the whole thing. If it were me, personally, if the season continues on the trajectory that it's on, I would be interested in doing some business at the trade deadline. But I've gone on the record to say I think trading Jalen Waddle is an exceptionally stupid thing to do. And even Devon Achane, as we talked about, I think you have enough runway there. There's enough positional flexibility and unique ways to impact the game that don't require you to be a carry sponge as a guy who's not a big bodied ball carrier anyway. Those are two players that I'm not giving you away for a mid-round draft choice to just get something. The Dolphins already have 2 third-round picks this year. Remember, they traded out of the 4th round. They did the reverse Jalen Wright thing. They traded out of the 4th round, got nothing back in return in this year's NFL draft, and got a 3rd-round pick next year in 2026. So they have their own 1 and 2. They have 2 3s, their own and either Houston's or the New York Giants. Then they have their own 4. They have their own 5. The 6 was involved in the conditional trade with Darren Waller, and then a 7 of their own as well. They have 2 5s in 2027 because of the Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith trade. They also have the potential, depending on playing time, to see a 4th-round compensatory pick awarded to them for losing Javon Holland in free agency. That is very right now. There's a lot of names, Dolphins and otherwise, that are kind of on the bubble for that projection as we're at the first end of the first trimester of the season. So there's some playing time storylines to watch there. Less Nick Westbrook-Ikine, less Ifitu Melifonwu, and Melifonwu did not play really in this most recent game that the Dolphins had played against the LA Chargers. So that seems to be trending in the right direction. But with the injury to Austin Jackson, now Larry Borum's kind of creeped up into that conversation of guys with playing time who might be qualifying as well. So a lot of moving parts for names that Miami's added for whether or not you're going to be awarded a compensatory pick. But that's neither here nor there. These kinds of moves, I don't think the Dolphins are currently overly incentivized to listen to offers because teams are just kind of putting feelers out there and probably lowballing you, thinking, hey, maybe they're going to do a fire sale, everything must go. You don't have to tear down a team down to the studs. They did that last time, and it was good in theory, but you kind of squandered it by how over-aggressive you got. You're surplus in picks. You miss some. That's part of the nature of the beast, and I understand that. And I don't really blame you for some missed picks here and there, even if they are early picks. They hurt, and they hurt more because you missed them. I think more of the missteps came with how quickly you got out of that cycle and frame of mind and mentality. But even if teams are calling in, even if the Dolphins are listening, it does not behoove you at all at Mike McDaniel to feed the beast, to fuel the speculation. No, we're not interested in trading players. Say that publicly. Go on the record. Whether you authentically mean it 100%, which there's a chance that's real, even if teams continue to call, and you will continue to pick up the phone because you pick up the phone when somebody calls. That's how the business works. Or alternatively, if you are fielding offers for the right players that might not be a piece of the long-term future, and I could see Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane being a part of the 3-year plan here beyond this year, I would not move either one of those guys unless you blew the doors off me Laramie Tunsil style. Like that's what we're talking about, right? And I don't think that's going to happen. There's other options that are available that teams will say, well, if that's the expected asking price for players that you covet as piece of your long-term puzzle long-term, we'll just trade somebody else from somebody else instead. And I'm fine with that. But if you guys that aren't a part of the long-term puzzle and you drop a game to Cleveland and you drop a game to Atlanta on the road, then yeah, I think that would be smart business to do. But even if you're intent on doing the smart business things, putting it out there that you're interested in moving players and kind of putting the for sale sign up on the front door, that's not going to help you. That didn't help you with leverage when Jalen Ramsey would that happen. And that's why getting Minkah Fitzpatrick was such a surprise as the return back, because everybody expected, well, the Dolphins kind of made it known that they were going to get rid of him. So it kind of cut him down at the knees on what they were able to ask for. So I think how McDaniel handled that from the psychology of his players, protecting his players, and the business behind the scenes of inevitably, even if the Dolphins can look themselves in the mirror and say, right now, we are not currently interested in trading any players off the roster. That can change, but teams are interested on players on your roster and they will call. So it makes it true, but it also makes it true that right now you're not looking to finalize the deal. And in the process of protecting your players and their psyche, I think it's good business all around, in my opinion, how that was handled. Which is good because we don't have too many things to walk away from right now that we could say, hey, I think we did a great job with this. We will be exploring some player availability for the Dolphins. We got some news on some guys potentially coming back. The Browns have a big loss. We're going to get into that. And one of those players for Cleveland is a big piece of the puzzle. And we're going to get into what Mike McDaniel said the plan was for how you were going to have to stop those players, and then get into how the weather could potentially fuel that further. That's next. You're on Locked On Dolphins. Stick with us. Today's episode of Locked On Dolphins is sponsored by BetterHelp. October 10th was World Mental Health Day, and this year we are saying thank you, therapists. Life can be tough on and off the field. Behind millions of mental health journeys, there are therapists who showed up, listened, and help people take a step forward. BetterHelp is shining the spotlight on those connections while also making it simple for you to find support whenever you need it. Therapy moments can be life-changing, whether it's learning to better connect with your kids, healing a relationship, or finding healthy ways to manage stress. This World Mental Health Day, join us in celebrating the therapists who've helped millions take a step forward. If you're ready to start your own journey, BetterHelp can help you find the right therapist. Our listeners get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. This episode of Locked On Dolphins is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. So don't miss the excitement for this football season with Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen passing yards, Saquon Barkley rushing touchdowns, Tua Tagovailoa touchdown passes, Tua Tagovailoa interceptions. You can mix and match almost any stats you'd like. And with their new injury reboot feature, if your player leaves early and does not return, it will not count against you. This week, we do have also a max discount. Steph Curry, more or less than 1/2 of a point needed. So take advantage of that. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup, that special max discount promotion is live for the Golden State Warriors versus Los Angeles Lakers game on October 21st. Steph Curry discounted to needing more than 1/2 a point to win. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Mike McDaniel was asked by Isaiah Smalls in the presser about the Cleveland Browns tight ends. And they obviously have David Njoku, but then they also have a rookie out of Bowling Green, Harold Fannin, who is a unique build player, kind of built in some ways like a David Njoku is. They're kind of linear guys, but they're big, strong guys, and they win with the ball in their hands. And Mike McDaniel said, we need to tackle these guys because they are run after catch style weapons. They like to get the ball in those guys' hands as big bodied weapons with the ball in their hands and force missed tackles and get run after catch. And when you consider this is probably not going to be a big air yards game with the weather and the projected wind gusts and how that's potentially going to impact the flight on the football, you're probably not going to be hanging the ball up in the air for a long time, which means you're looking to get the ball out quick. You're trying to get it in guys' hands, let them make plays for you. That's kind of what the Browns have. Their whole MO has been that with Dylan Gabriel through 2 games. And they do that in part by extension with the tight ends. We are not going to see David Njoku, former Miami Hurricane great, is not going to play in this game. He's been ruled out as of this afternoon. So that is official. There will be no David Njoku. But as we talked about earlier this week on the show, if your plan is, hey, we need to make sure we tackle with discipline, I have some concerns because the Dolphins are a team that have not had a great deal of success with tackling. They are a team, if you look at the Pro Football Focus grades, they're the worst graded team as a tackling team. We went through it, and half of the 15, 16 players that have played 100 snaps defensively for the Dolphins through 6 games, half of them are missing like 20% of their tackles. Tackling has been a very big sore spot for Miami. And that's going to be further amplified in bad weather, wet, sloppy, poor footing. They have a marquee size weapon that they like to get the ball to in Harold Fannin, even though he's a young player. The guy caught over 100 balls last year at Bowling Green. And he did so and had monster games against Penn State and Texas A&M. So it's not like this is he played in the MAC and lit him up. He played in the MAC and went to College Station and played Penn State and lit those teams up too for big numbers. He's a dangerous player. Now, there's the air of the passing game in Cleveland is probably going to be less impacted by the wind conditions that we are expecting in the game based off the weather forecast than what Miami is. But David Njoku going down does kind of divert your attention for if this team wants to bulk up and do what the Chargers did to you, which was play a ton of 12 personnel and 13 personnel. And Oronde Gadsden Jr. has a big game catching the football. And you, from a personnel standpoint, you never really figured out how to match it with consistency. Because when you went with base, they'd run the tight end routes and they get after Bradley Chubb and KJ Britt. I thought KJ Britt played well as a run defender in replace of Tyrell Dodson. I think he was better in that game defending the run than what we've seen from Tyrell all season, in my opinion. But the limitations in the passing game kind of put the weight on everybody else to figure out your spacing on the back end. And that was a challenge for Miami, I thought, to kind of work through that. So I couldn't help but chuckle a little bit when the stated expectation is we need to make sure that we are tackling with consistency to avoid run after catch because that's where their offense likes to thrive. The Dolphins are currently tied. We mentioned the Pro Football Focus grades, and I know Pro Football Focus grades, there's a lot of gray. Let's just put it that way, right? But a lot of their advanced statistics, I think, are very valuable. Pro Football Reference also has some statistics, and it has missed tackles. And here are the top 5 teams in the NFL this year in missed tackles, according to Pro Football Reference. The Cincinnati Bengals are number 1 at 68. They've also played 7 games. So they played an extra game than everybody else. The New York Jets have 54. The Bengals have 68. Jets have 54. The Seahawks have 51. The Commanders have 50. And then it's a 3-way tie between the Dallas Cowboys, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Miami Dolphins with 46 missed tackles in 6 games apiece. It's a problem. And again, the messaging from the staff is technique and fundamentals. I know you work technique on tackling. I know you work fundamentals on tackling. And this is not just, oh, we tried to punch the ball out against Carolina and got too cute and didn't wrap up. This happens every week. So it needs to happen less, and it needs to happen less in conditions in which you're going to be challenged more with your footing and your ability to put your body in the right position to make the play. It's I am eager to see what answers they have for the test in this regard. Because you do have a lot of young players playing. That is one thing I will take from the defensive side of the ball. And it sounds like we have an open competition between Jack Jones and Ethan Bonner. Storm Duck's going to be available to play for the Dolphins. Doesn't sound like he's going to push Rasul Douglas off a spot. And I think that's a good decision because Rasul Douglas has been playing well. I continue to want to advocate to see more Jordan Phillips. I did just 56 minutes at 1 a.m. this morning on the run defense, looking at Jordan Phillips and Benito Jones and Zach Sealer and these guys on the interior and how the fronts are fitting gaps and where guys are leveraged from. And this, that, it went up on Touchdown Miami, working through the film. I want to see more Jordan Phillips. And I understand the pass rush profile's not super high. But man, does he get off blocks. Man, does he reset the line of scrimmage. And you contrast to some guys who have a lot better draft pedigree than he does, it'll open your eyes. And that's the kind of thing you need in a game like this for a team that wants to run the ball. They want to take efficient throws underneath. Kind of in a lot of ways mirrors the 2024 Miami Dolphins offense. With the exception of they have had some success running the ball, although their raw rushing metrics are awful. Well, they are averaging 3.9 yards per carry. They're ranked 27th in the NFL in yards per attempt. Meanwhile, Quinshad Judkins is averaging 4.6 yards per carry. It's just Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson are averaging a combined, they've got 116 carries on 40, or 116 yards on 42 carries. They're not getting anything going with the other guys that are not named Quinshad Judkins, who missed the first game. Judkins missed the first game. He leads this team in yards from scrimmage by 200 yards over the next highest name, and the next highest name is Harold Fannin. 2 rookies. 2 young, dynamic guys that play with a little bit of a spark. You got to have answers for. And the weather is potentially the great equalizer. We're going to talk a little bit more about the weather on the other side of it. Make sure you guys stick with us. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat every detail. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. You could feel the craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. And with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis, maybe even tried them for yourself. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rajiat Go Long. You've been looking for something to kind of make sure you are ready at the moment's notice. Rajiat Goes Long kicks in. It's not just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. It combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula, so you can be ready at a moment's notice. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That is confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly to your front door. If prescribed, your treatment will be there in a moment's notice, so you can be ready in a moment's notice. If you're ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom, head to rugiet.com. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Make sure to use our code so they know we sent you. I do have the updated AccuWeather forecast. Very windy, not as warm, with periods of rain, some heavy, and a thunderstorm. Thunderstorms can bring localized damaging wind gusts. The real feel is 63. Put away your cold weather concerns, although the Dolphins went to Cleveland last year wanting cold weather with Tyler Huntley. High is 69. Was hoping this could be high as 67, 67. People say I have no personality in the show. Come on now. Wind gusts up to 52 miles per hour. The cloud cover's 100%. Up to a half an inch of rain. Thunderstorm probabilities under 30%. You expand it to the afternoon forecast, and you do get rain, some heavy, high of 64 with a thunderstorm, very windy. Wind gusts at 41 in the afternoon. So it sounds like maybe a little bit windier before kickoff. Probability of precipitation is 80%. It'll be wet. It'll be windy. Now, Mike McDaniel was asked about this in his Friday press conference, and he said, our opponent's the Browns, not the weather. We wait until we're closer to the game before we make any determinations on how we're going to adjust our game plan. I do hope they are spending a little extra time, though. Because if you prepare blanket universally for the roster and not for the conditions, are you going to have a big enough menu if the conditions force your hand? Be interested to see how this plays out for Miami, and a team that all season long has kind of struggled with the margins, if you will. And this is a potential margin point for Miami. But 2 teams that I think can look in the mirror. They have some questions, both of them on the offensive line due to some injuries. They've had some success running the ball, but not with great consistency. Left-handed quarterbacks. We got 2 left-handed quarterbacks back-to-back for the first time, or on the Dolphins schedule, with Penix next week and this week Dillon Gabriel. The Dolphins are going to be a part of the first lefty versus lefty matchup in almost 20 years on Sunday. I don't know that anybody's talked about it. And they have a chance to do it back-to-back. From a personnel standpoint, the Browns do have some problems that you need to be able to solve, especially when you consider how Carolina did some things with their personnel, specifically on the interior, that I think Cleveland can bring some similar challenges with Malik Collins and Shelby Harris and Mason Graham. Myles Garrett obviously has a large gravitational pull up front. How are you going to navigate that? And then behind it, you've got one of my all-time draft crushes of this past year's cycle in Carson Schwessinger, who is playing out of his mind good. That's the thing that really stands out about Cleveland is they have this young, hungry group of guys that's kind of been thrust into playing. And there's ups and downs, but they're playing well. Right? And you contrast that to Miami, where there's been young guys that have been thrust into playing, but Kenneth and Jonah, as your two marquee draft picks, have kind of been up and down. Well, what's the difference? Mason Graham's been up and down. There's been good flashes. Schwessinger's a second-round pick has looked very good. They got him at a plus value because he was a devalued position as an off-ball linebacker. They get first-round tape. They also had 2 threes. They had 2 2s and 2 3s. Right? The trade down out of the number 2 pick in Travis Hunter. The way that they load up, they get Gabriel and Fannin in the 3rd round. They get Schwessinger and Quinshaw Judkins in the 2nd round. Hold up the mirror, Miami. We got to get back to this. We got to get back to this surplus. But not at the expense of giving away your to bring this whole show full circle. Not at the expense of just giving talent away. Oh, let's get a 3 for Jalen. No. Let's get a 2 for Jalen. No. Not on my watch. I will not have it. That's going to do it for us here today on the show. Hope you guys enjoyed. Kyle Krabs, keep it locked in right here on Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day. We'll talk to you all after the game on Sunday with our Locked On Dolphins squad show with Jim Grieshaber and Jeff Scanina and myself. We're live for an hour after the game. I'll have my own post-game show. Still have the 5 days a week with yours truly here on the YouTube channel with the traditional Locked On Dolphins presentation. But on top of that, we also had the post-game live with the Dolphin squad, Grease, Scanina, and myself. We hope to see you there. Keep it locked in right here on Locked On Dolphins. I'll talk to you all again soon.